All right, now we have chapter 2 of this new. I said chapter 2 like so assuredly, but I genuinely have no idea what I'm talking about. It's chapter 102. I guess it's chapter 2 of the swashbuckling adventure. This one is called Perseus, the Ship of Science, which of course is their sailing ship. I guess this is their first kind of real long-term sailing mission is to get to the treasure island, so maybe we'll learn a little bit more about how the ship works. Um, there may be other human survivors out there on Treasure Island. Thanks to this dude's helpful info, we can be totally sure of that. So, yeah, it makes sense. He was only sent as a baby in this generation. You can be pretty sure that whoever was taking care of him before is still around there. So, I made it for an easier search for him. I'm getting this. Who the heck are these people on the island? I thought all of humanity got turned into stone statues. Ishigami Village's distant relatives. 10 billion percent one. Oh, so yeah, it didn't have to be a split off right when the astronauts landed. Of course. So just at some point, Ishigami Villages split apart. Their descendants became the tribe that lived on the Treasure Island. Great founder embedded his wish within the 100 Tales. Make for Japan someday. Ah, yes. Some brave members of the original tribe set out to sea. Toughest among them had the grit and determination to make it to the mainland. Those were the ancestors that started Ishigami Village. Okay, so it wasn't the... Yeah, sorry. For all of my trying to remember, I really just made it way more complicated than it was. It's just that Ishigami Village at some point in the distant past split. And some people remained on Treasure Island and some people went to Japan. Sure. So that's pretty interesting to me because human history is actually full of these sorts of splinterings and migrations and dating all the way back to the vast prehistory of humanity. I think that's pretty cool that this whole time a parallel family has been living their lives out on this island. Their distant relatives are out there. Wenso Drum is to bring this whole group on what could have been a suicide mission. Part of the tribe was bound to stay behind on the island. So my people. I only hope they're friendly. That's why we keep you around, Mentalists. Enough warriors to wipe them out. Can't go attack people like that. I like this idea of Taiju being the kind of like the babysitter of Magma, maybe. Always telling him, settle down. And it's kind of nice too because Taiju wasn't around for Magma's really horrific actions and how horrible a person he was. So it kind of makes sense maybe they have a bit more of like a banter type of relationship. What if Y-Man is a member of the treasure tribe on Treasure Island? World scarcity of humans. What? And here the former village chief freaking out. And Soyuz didn't tell him, but yeah, like this is why. Because you're freaking out. Imagine they could create tech advanced enough to launch saturated radio waves with only the resources found on some tiny island. And access that sort of science, they'd never be satisfied with hiding a rock in the middle of the sea. Yeah, so I agree. It's very unlikely that Y-Man is going to be on this island. Because, of course, that wouldn't make for a very interesting story either. This mystery is solved the instant they set out, and just as a bonus to something else they were trying to do. Nah. It's gonna be something more than that. So, There could be some pretty interesting people on this island, though. People that descended from Senkyu's former pseudo-father. But he of... whatever, let's just keep going. They'd want to see and know all the world has to offer. Humanity can't possibly resist that desire. They did always want to know if I was the only outsider in the village, then who were my people? So out to sea with only hazy memories to guide me, we got forced back by storms. If I find out what then? It's too late for my past to mean much. But I just want to know. I love it. Still, I just want to know. Isn't that great? Isn't that like such a driving force that in the end, even pointless knowledge, even things that can't possibly affect our lives anymore, we still want to know them. Still, I just want to know. That simple thirst for knowledge is what drives all of science. Nice. Nice shot. Oh, this is so great. This is so great. We're all citizens of the kingdom of science now, including you, dear Soyuz. Rode for days and never spotted the island. Now with the ship of science, I just know we'll make it. How many days before we reach the treasure island? Alright, this is Kohaku once again setting herself up for a big swing and a miss. Do you think it's either going to be A, we'll get there in 2 hours, or B, we'll get there in 40 days? It's going to be one of those two extremes. I'm thinking more the 2 hours, because it's still kind of hitting this beat that they've really underestimated the power of the sailing ship and how insanely fast it can go. Should only take a few hours. Yep, there we go. Our ancestors put their lives on the line to challenge these very waters. Well, we will make the crossing without breaking a sweat. Perseus one bab. All the hard work Senku and the science team put in. See how it's all put together. Ooh. Ah, yes, a tour of the boat. I want a tour of the boat. I want a tour of the boat. One of my favorite chapters in all of One Piece is when they tour the Thousand Sunny. Just the amount of time that they spend on it, and then the way that they learn even more about it during the fight with Garp and stuff. Just that excitement, like this is their home now. This is where so much of the series is going to take place now. This is something that we're probably going to bawl our eyes out over once again at some point in the future. I once sat through a 5-hour explanation on rockets. And 5 hours, if you want to cover rockets, 5 hours is pretty good. I think that's like a speed run to be able to get in a good comprehensive explanation of rockets. It's literally rocket science. Yuzuriha's face there looks so cute. This is so great. Let's start the tour. An overview of our ship of science and Perseus. Oh baby, and Risu looking right at the camera when he says it. It's like, yeah, you guys want to come along, don't you? And they're almost saying too that it's like, if you don't care, you can just mash through this, or I guess more realistically, like, all right, yeah, they're doing something else. And like, oh, this information might not be useful at all to the plot going forward, but maybe you think it's cool. We think it's cool. Check it out. It's our science ship. Oh my god! Oh my god, I love it! Dude, I love it so much. Okay, so even more than the Thousand Sunny exploration scene, there is a scene in this movie, The Life Aquatic, with Steve Zissou. It's a Wes Anderson movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's a shot right near the start. He goes, "Let me tell you about my boat." And they have this amazing set, which is like a cutaway of the boat. And they pan down through the floors and through the walls, just like this. Just like this. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And we've talked before about, those cutaway books, those look inside books, and the appeal of all of that. And seeing a scene like this, but with all the characters that we love and all the technology that we've seen them build from the basics. Oh, this is like, and I told you, best spreads in the game, but this is beyond my expectations. All right, so what do we got here? Enough gushing about it. Let's actually take a look. Searchlights up top. Of course, they're flags waving high. The antenna, radar, and GPS going. Stairs that lead up so that you can go up to observation areas. Kohaku, of course, climbing up and down the ropes. You can even fish from here. There's Yo, the policeman, reeling in a big tuna-looking guy. Grab the handrail from below. Backhand grip. Ah, oh, that's cool. That's an interesting idea. Tumble the ship pushes forward. Yeah, that makes sense. A little greenhouse and some sheep as food supplies, sleeping quarters, 5 layered bunks. Everybody just sleeping down together. Nice, that's nice. There's no kind of like captain's room. There's no stratification in that regard. Many curved elements in the construction. Straight wood won't make a working ship. Curves tend to bend instead of break. Nice. There's their stock room down here in the bottom right, including the jail for Homura and Hyoga. Just hanging out there. Big thing of fresh water, of course. There's a big blank space here, and I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if that's, like they're hiding something from us. That room they don't want to give away yet. They're big enough for a person to shimmy up. I see. Taiji, you can just rip a hole in the wall. The comms room, of course. This is where the information from the radar and the GPS can come in. This is where they were doing their kind of navigation and planning before, and that little strategic discussion. The big engine room, of course. Some wood shop supplies for the old man to fix up whatever needs fixing. And a little mobile lab, the lifeblood of the kingdom. Senku, of course, just hanging out with Chrome in the lab. It's on wheels so we can roll it out wherever we make landfall. Oh, that's so cozy. And it's got a little spring jack thing too, so they can raise it up onto the ship and then drive it down the gangway. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so cozy. The coziness is just indescribable. Just thinking about living on this ship. What's in the blank space? That's what I'm curious about. But maybe we won't find out now. We now return to seasick adventures. Most of the crew just completely wiped out by seasickness. It is pretty crazy. So I think I talked about this before in the context of this series, but when I was, I think, 11 or 10, me and my dad took a ship across the Atlantic Ocean to England. It was pretty interesting. It was something he had found out about, where cargo ships that are just making runs back and forth across the ocean will sell additional cabin space if they're not entirely crewed up. They can just sell to citizens like us, just some guys, a spot in the crew's cabins for really, really cheap, like cheaper than a plane ride. It takes a lot longer than a plane ride, but it's really dang cool to live on a ship like that for a while. To see the culture around it, and to eat the food, and to see how the workings of it happen. And it was really, really neat. Definitely a very unique experience that I'm glad I had the opportunity to. But the seasickness, I didn't get it too bad. I think maybe the first day out on the open sea, I was a little woozy, but my dad got wrecked by it. Like, you really are just like vomiting all the time. It's really surreal. And you'd think, being on a huge, huge ship like that, like it was a gigantic cargo ship full of shipping containers, that it would be so big that you wouldn't really even feel the rocking of the waves. But it's more that it's like just super exaggerated, and the fact that it's like everywhere and yet somehow also simultaneously nowhere. And yet it is eventually slowly becoming super pronounced as the ship just kind of like rolls back and forth. It's pretty weird. It's like nothing else. Okay, anyways, so they're getting seasick, and so all I'm saying is I can feel that. First real voyage, after all. So we got the mobile lab. To stop seasickness, nothing works faster than an automatic nerve inhibitor like scopolamine. Yeah, so this is like I saw a Vice documentary about this drug. This drug is like extremely scary. It's a major inhibitor, yeah. That basically it's kind of like a drunken sensation where you become like really agreeable to the point of gullibility. You're going along with just terrible decisions. According to this Vice documentary I saw, they would attack people by just blowing the powder in their face, which is enough to kind of dose you, and then being like, "Hey, buddy, you want to take us to the ATM and just withdraw all your money and give it to us?" And then people will be like, "I guess." And oh, it's terrifying! Isn't that terrifying? So my dad tried a medicine like this too. It was like a thing you put on the back of your ear, and a lot of the side effects that it listed have in common with scopolamine. So I think it was some sort of derivative of that. And they even warned against things like hallucination, like watch out for that as a side effect. Luckily, he didn't really get that many side effects. He was just kind of tired all the time. And eventually he got over his seasickness and started kind of enjoying himself more, but whatever. Anyways, yeah. So this thing is pretty crazy. It's an interesting thing to read about. Separating the water and oil-soluble compounds, you can extract the parts that work at medicine. Teensy dose is effective. Hands off. We're cured. Science-powered sickbay in the stone world. The fiercest storm couldn't slow us down much. Seasick 1 minute and smug the next. A person wrong, the weather at sea can change its tune at the drop of a hat. And here it is. The storm has rolled in. Oh, isn't this a wonderful shot too? Of the storm, the rain, these waves, the lightning. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love a stormy seascape. There's that painter. Oh, what's his name? You know, that has the really wonderful seascapes and often has shots where the light can be seen over the tall wave, or through the tall wave, that is, that it's like illuminated in its thinner places. One of the most genius masters. He's Dutch, late 1700s, I think, and his name is just gone. But whatever. Like beyond land, there's nothing here to shelter us. It's bad news. Usui doesn't care at all. He's just enjoying his latte. There are plenty of storms in my time. As long as I'm commanding this vessel, there's nothing to fear, so keep calm. Senki running in, his eyes bulging out in two directions. Someone didn't get that. What is he so scared of? Not that we're in trouble, it's our chance. Since we don't know if that island's inhabitants are friendly, we'll use the storm to sneak up on them and do a little spying with our eyes of science before making contacts. Ah, okay, so that's exciting. This is pretty interesting. We're going to get our first glimpse of these uncontacted people, the distant relatives of Ishigami Village. And I kind of like this idea of spying on them first. It feels like real world contacting of uncontacted people, which in general we just don't really do anymore. But back in kind of the more colonial days, it was often this kind of scouting approach and then perhaps sending one person in, then kind of working your way into the culture, and then usually the exploitation and the brutality would start. But let's hope that it's not heading in that direction. Ah, and he recognizes it. Soyu. I could never forget the sight of the place I was born, my homeland. Finally made it back yet to your treasure island. Ooh, is this what landing at Raftel is going to be like? Whatever ordeals await us, that's reason enough to get excited. Ooh, oh, I love it. Oh, how stirring. How stirring, how stirring. Sailing into the mist-enshrouded island in the middle of a storm. Knowing that for the first time you will be meeting other people, other Stone World denizens. What will their culture be like? What will they have been up to all this time? How far will they have come? I don't know. But I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited. Okay. Chapter 102 is next. And you will be able to watch me read that tomorrow. Okay. Bye-bye.